Okay, what I was saying is, if I hold it off a little bit, as long as I'm sure on my angle, and I just know that the angle's right, then the support isn't really important at that point, except for the back edge, because that's where the flake length and power comes from. I got a little ridge there. I'm gonna grind that little ridge. It's kind of hard to get on this platform, so I'm gonna do that off my leg. And I hit it downward a lot because there was a little concavity right in there that I was worried about. So I let the support do something with it and just hit downward. Coming in long here, trying to get rid of this. But at the same time, I want a gradual transition there and not a big ledge to fall off, because I ain't got a lot of width to lose. Being real careful on that one. That's one of those ones that if I'd hit a little high, this thing's getting thinner. If I'd hit a little high, I could have folded that. I was being careful to make sure my support under there was good, so there wouldn't be any bending forces. Okay, so now you can say, well, what do you do with that? Well, simplest thing to do is just kind of keep doing like I have been. This way, that way. Raising it up to this side because I got thickness in here. Got a square edge over there. And I haven't talked about it much, but sometimes you can grind down that cortex enough to make a very material difference. Sometimes I do think I'm, too cautious and take too much time doing some of this stuff, but my time doesn't really matter because it's not like I'm on a production schedule or anything. I mean, some people feel they have to hurry and do crap, and I don't. I wanted to hit flat on that because there was a little booger there and everything. Okay, so there's a little ridge there, and I think I can stiffen this enough. I don't want to go any higher with it. Cross grind a bunch, make it strong. I think I can hit and take a lot of that out. If I hit, maybe not. Okay, so that blended that over to the middle. I'm kind of careful on these diamonds. I don't like them to be, I don't like the edges of a diamond to be exactly at the center line. I like it to be a little bit lowered towards the side that I'm trying to hit it to. Because I don't remember breaking one in recent history. can't remember the last time I broke one, but you just have to be it came into there flat flake. That's what you want. If you're hitting flat into it, you're not bending it, you're not going to break it. It's when you let that force go downward instead of inward. See how long that is? Came all the way over there. Plus it's helping. I mean, you know, when you're doing that, you're not just keeping it from breaking, you're actually thinning. So I'm trying to get this thickness right in here. I'm trying to get this at an optimal height. And then I've got these little square boogers on it. So I'm going to grind an angle and try and create a platform instead of a came all the way to here. More or less flat. And I hit in between the two boogers. I don't really like to hit little knots. I hit right on the side of that little knot. I don't like to hit them because they're definitely not correct platforms. Just trying to get the edges of this with good support underneath. And I've got this Cortex on there. But I mean, you can see what the goal is here. And when you see me hitting like that, I'm using the thing like a billet. I'm trying to take off flakes to instead of using a bopper. I'm not trying to do a big old super strong edge. I'm actually trying to move an edge when I'm whacking on it like that. And right now what I'm doing is I'm just getting this edge really stiff because I got a real sinuous wavy edge here. Hopefully you can see that. And so I have a lot of targets of opportunity here for indirect percussion. And I don't need to do big indirect percussion because this is not a particularly terrible rock and it's not a particularly huge rock. Excuse me a moment while I adjust this. I know that wastes your time, but it's in a little bit further than I want it. When it gets in too far, then when I file it, I can't get it rounded right like I want it for my judging angles. It tends to flatten out as I use it, and I have to kind of make sure I keep it what I'm used to because so I judge my angles. And I've told y'all before, if you watch my other stuff, that it's not the right way to do it. It's not the best shape platform for what I want to do, but it does get me the angle I want, which is the most important thing, because if I don't get the right angle, you know. I wouldn't buck like a mule, but it was perfectly flat flake all the way over there, and it did some good, which is, you know, what I needed. And I knew, I mean, I held on to it tight because I knew. I don't like this platform to hit that way, but I got a bunch of thickness here. But that's right, the center line's a big square knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come this way and hit a couple of flakes on that other side, and that'll end up allowing me to lower it. These are flat. I'm using my ability to control the angle and to put some power into it to try and get all the good I can out of some of these flakes. What happens is you get it set up, and once you get it set up, you do a whole bunch of good with like a single go round, single pass. And that's where I fundamentally differ from a lot of other people's technique. There's a lot of people that try and do a little good with each pass and do a lot of passes. I try and get things under control and then go for the gusto. And I'm not suggesting my way is better. But I have managed to get some pretty decent points out of some pretty small rocks. I've managed to get some points about the size of the original rocks. And so all I'll say about that is what I do has on occasion worked relatively well for me. I'm still not comfortable enough with the concepts of quote-unquote teaching at my experience level to feel great about making these vids and everything, but I think that as long as I tell people, hey, you know, listen to the concepts and then watch other people and figure out what'll work for you. And I definitely don't mind whatever technique you end up using because it's your deal. I don't know, you know, on the one hand, I'd like to be considered a gee whiz napper, but on the other hand, I think to myself, well, you know, what does that get me in life? The answer is nothing. It's just an ego thing, but other than that, it doesn't make any difference. In a way, I think it'd be cool for people to say, you know, as long as they remember I existed, that I was helpful in advancing the napping skills of others so that they could enjoy the hobby and make cool crap that their friends and relatives and neighbors and stuff went ooh and ah over. It's a pretty neat thing. I've always kind of been surprised in a way the degree to which ego tends to drive so much of human interaction. You know, in a large part, life seems to have been a lot like high school. People sit around telling war stories and stuff. Time a guy was telling a war story about all this crap happened to him, and at the end I said, man, you went through a lot of crap just to get that story. He looked at me funny. A lot of good stories out there, though. And a lot of them will never be told. Ooh, these are good hits. If I don't break this, then I'm doing good. And you say, well, look how weird my edge is. Well, yeah, but I'm doing what I want to do. I ain't working on the edge. I'm working on the middle. I got a droopy end, though, which makes me mad. I got to do something about the droopy end. I just feel edges are so easy to straighten up. I don't even worry about them. I'll be right back.